The year is 2025 and Egypt finds itself at a critical juncture, facing a decision with potentially devastating consequences. President Trump, in a move that has sent shockwaves through the region, has presented Egypt with a stark ultimatum: accept hundreds of thousands of Gazan refugees or face a complete cutoff of U.S. aid. This demand, reportedly relayed through the UAE president during a recent visit to Cairo, has left Egypt grappling with an impossible choice, caught between a humanitarian crisis and the specter of economic collapse. The situation is further complicated by the nature of the message, delivered not through official diplomatic channels but via a third party. This unusual approach has raised eyebrows in the international community, with many questioning the Trump administration's motives and diplomatic protocols. The lack of transparency surrounding the ultimatum has only fueled speculation and heightened anxieties in the region. For Egypt, already struggling with a faltering economy and internal divisions, the ultimatum presents a lose-lose scenario. Accepting the refugees would mean shouldering an immense financial and logistical burden, straining its already limited resources. On the other hand, refusing the request could mean jeopardizing billions of dollars in vital U.S. aid, further destabilizing the country's fragile economy. The weight of this decision rests heavily on the shoulders of the Egyptian government, caught between international pressure, domestic concerns, and the plight of the Palestinian people. As the world watches with bated breath, the coming days will determine not only the fate of Egypt, but also the future of the region. The Egyptian government is under immense pressure to make a decision that balances humanitarian concerns with economic realities. The influx of refugees would require significant investment in housing, healthcare, and education, which are already under strain. The logistical challenges of integrating such a large number of people cannot be underestimated. It would require a coordinated effort from various sectors of society, including NGOs, international aid organizations, and local communities. On the diplomatic front, Egypt's decision will have far-reaching implications. Accepting the refugees could strengthen its ties with the U.S. and other Western nations, potentially leading to increased foreign aid and investment in the long run. However, it could also lead to internal unrest, as many Egyptians are already frustrated with the government's handling of the economy and social issues. The potential for protests and civil unrest is high, adding another layer of complexity to the decision-making process. The international community is closely monitoring the situation, with many countries offering support and urging Egypt to make a decision that prioritizes human rights and humanitarian concerns. The pressure from international organizations and human rights groups is mounting, adding to the already heavy burden on the Egyptian government. As the deadline approaches, the Egyptian government must weigh the immediate economic benefits of U.S. aid against the long-term social and economic impact of accepting a large number of refugees. The decision will not only shape Egypt's future, but also set a precedent for how countries in the region handle similar crises in the future. The world waits with bated breath, knowing that whatever decision is made, it will have profound implications for the region and beyond. The coming days will be crucial in determining the path that Egypt will take, and the international community stands ready to respond to the outcome. Egypt's economic woes are no secret. The country has been grappling with financial instability for years, and the situation seems to be worsening with each passing day. The Egyptian pound has plummeted in value, forcing many citizens to conduct daily transactions in US dollars or increasingly, Russian rubles. This shift to foreign currencies is not just a minor inconvenience, it highlights a deeper, more troubling issue within the nation's financial system. This reliance on foreign currencies underscores the fragility of the Egyptian economy, making the prospect of losing billions of dollars in US aid a terrifying reality. The potential loss of this aid could send shockwaves through the economy, affecting everything from public services to private businesses. The potential influx of refugees would place an enormous strain on Egypt's already struggling economy. With thousands of people seeking asylum, the demand for resources would skyrocket, putting immense pressure on an already overburdened system. Providing food, shelter, healthcare, and other essential services to hundreds of thousands of people would require a massive investment of resources. This is not just a logistical challenge but also a financial one, as the government would need to allocate funds that are already stretched thin. This burden comes at a time when Egypt is already grappling with high unemployment, rising inflation, and a growing national debt. The job market is saturated, and many young Egyptians are finding it increasingly difficult to secure employment. The government's ability to provide for its own citizens is already stretched thin. Many Egyptians live in poverty, and the state struggles to meet their basic needs from healthcare to education. The influx of a large refugee population would exacerbate these existing problems, potentially leading to social unrest and political instability. The streets could become a battleground for resources, and the social fabric of the nation could be torn apart. The Egyptian government is caught in a precarious balancing act. It must navigate these complex challenges while trying to maintain stability and order. On one hand, it needs U.S. aid to keep its economy afloat. This financial support is crucial for maintaining public services and ensuring that the country does not descend into further economic chaos. On the other hand, accepting a large refugee population could push the country to the brink of collapse. The government must weigh the immediate humanitarian needs against the long-term sustainability of the nation. This balancing act is not just a matter of policy but a question of survival for millions of Egyptians. Adding another layer of complexity to this already volatile situation is the construction of a massive facility near the Rafah border crossing with Gaza. Encircled by towering walls and shrouded in secrecy, this structure has been ominously dubbed an open-air concentration camp by critics. Reports from the region paint a grim picture of the facility. The hastily constructed buildings are cramped and poorly equipped, lacking basic amenities like running water and proper sanitation. The entire complex is heavily guarded, with limited access for humanitarian organizations and journalists. While Egyptian officials maintain that the facility is intended to provide temporary housing for refugees, its size and design suggest a more permanent and potentially sinister purpose. The lack of transparency surrounding the construction and management of the facility has only fueled speculation and concern. Further complicating matters is the significant role Israel appears to be playing in the Rafah facility's operation. This has raised numerous questions and concerns among various stakeholders, including local residents, international observers, and human rights organizations. The level of control Israel exerts over the facility is seen by many as an extension of its broader influence in the region. Despite being located on Egyptian soil, reports suggest that Israel will maintain significant control over the facility's security and logistics. This has led to a complex and often contentious relationship between Egypt and Israel, with both countries having their own strategic interests in the region. The involvement of Israel in the operations of a facility on Egyptian territory is unprecedented and has sparked a debate about sovereignty and control. This arrangement stems from agreements made in the 2005 Philadelphia Accord, which gave Israel control over movement in and out of Gaza. The accord was intended to address security concerns and facilitate the movement of people and goods, but it has also been criticized for giving Israel disproportionate control over Gaza's borders. The historical context of this agreement is crucial to understanding the current dynamics at play. This agreement, originally intended to prevent Hamas from smuggling weapons, has effectively given Israel veto power over the Rafah border crossing. Critics argue that this power has been used to impose severe restrictions on the movement of people and goods, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The security rationale behind the agreement is often cited, but the human cost cannot be ignored. Adding to the controversy is the involvement of Ibrahim al-Arjani, an Egyptian businessman with close ties to both the Egyptian and Israeli governments. Al-Arjani's role has been a focal point of criticism, with many questioning the transparency and fairness of the contracts awarded to him. His connections have led to suspicions of favoritism and corruption, further complicating the already tense situation. Al-Arjani has been awarded lucrative contracts for the construction of the Rafah facility and the reconstruction efforts in Gaza. These contracts are worth millions of dollars and have positioned him as a key player in the region's reconstruction efforts. However, the manner in which these contracts were awarded has been shrouded in secrecy, leading to calls for greater accountability and transparency. He has also been accused of exploiting the suffering of Gazans by charging exorbitant fees for exit visas to flee the besieged territory. These allegations have sparked outrage among human rights groups and the international community, who argue that such practices are inhumane and exploitative. The plight of Gazans seeking to escape the dire conditions in their homeland is a poignant reminder of the broader humanitarian crisis in the region. The question of how aid would reach the refugees in the Rafah facility remains a major concern. Given Israel's history of blockading aid to Gaza, there are serious doubts about their willingness to allow humanitarian assistance to flow freely into the facility. This raises a fundamental question. If Egypt accepts the refugees, can they guarantee their well-being? Would the international community stand by and allow a humanitarian crisis to unfold within the walls of the Rafah facility? The situation highlights the complicated geopolitical realities of the region. The fate of the Palestinian refugees is inextricably linked to the actions and interests of regional and global powers. To understand the current crisis, it's crucial to examine the historical context of U.S. aid to both Egypt and Israel. Following the Camp David Accords in 1978, the U.S. committed to providing billions of dollars in annual aid to both countries. This aid has been instrumental in maintaining peace between Egypt and Israel, albeit a cold and often uneasy peace. However, critics argue that this aid has also made both countries overly reliant on the U.S., giving Washington outsized influence over their domestic and foreign policies. This dependence has created a power dynamic where the U.S. can dictate terms, as evidenced by the current ultimatum facing Egypt. The situation in Egypt has exposed the flaws in this long-standing arrangement. By leveraging its financial assistance, the U.S. is essentially forcing Egypt to choose between its own economic stability and its obligations to the Palestinian people.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.